a year for every girl and boy.
Wait.
What?
Anderson Bench.
It's not your interview. It's my interview right now.
So why did you make Anderson Bench?
Oh, that's my line. So why'd you make Anderson Bench, John? Why'd you write it?
I wrote it because...
That's the question, not make it. Why did you write Anderson Bench?
I had to write Anderson Bench, otherwise I might do what I had written in real life.
Ah, so that means that is art representing life?
Life. I was going through a particularly rough time, and felt like if I could have one really good day in a row, what would happen if you knew that you were at the tail end of the best day you were ever going to have? Not the best day you had had so far, but the best day you were ever going to have. How would you end that? Yeah, so that's why I wrote Anderson Bench.
Yeah, I'm sorry, miss, but we don't serve lunch for another 3 hours. It's breakfast time now.
I want to speak to your manager.
The customer is always right.
So did you dream up these whole Emma things?
We refuel every pickup, and we empty her every other day. All you have to do is feed her.
Or was this something from...
It came out of me. It was fascinating. I had heard a thing about back in the East Coast, there was a doctor who supposedly murdered his wife and cut her up and then put her in the chipper shredder in the yard, and eventually got caught because
you said we have problems
that.
down south.
Well,
anyway,
the only problem with that is he got caught. But anyway, so I wrote it because I'd had that kind of notion in there. As far as Emma, I don't know where in the world the name Emma came from. I'm not sure where Anderson Bench came from. But
is it too early to order lunch?
You can have whatever you want. Customer's always right.
That name. But I think it's so cool because it makes you wonder, what is that or who is that? But when I wrote it for people my age. In fact, I had Sean Young was going to be Bethany Tender.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I couldn't get it done. I was still trying to raise millions of dollars to make a movie, and then I met this woman in Atlanta that could make a movie for a lot less than that, and I dared her to do it. I said, when you're ready to make a real movie, call me. That was her, because she came to Atlanta to hire me to do
a movie.
A movie that was a great movie. But then why in the world did you do? And by the way, she's the reason why Bethany Tender and Anderson Bench are in their 20s. Actually, Bethany Tender, when we filmed this movie...
Aren't you supposed to be interviewing me with that?
Hey, why did you see Bethany and Anderson as younger people?
For me, reading the script, it was more a European vibe in it. And it was more of that culture of angst.
Like 15 minutes for myself. Of course not. For Anderson Bench, no.
I don't know, when I was a teenager and into my 20s, it was a culture of angst. I grew up middle of the road, middle America kind of stuff. But there was a persona that we took on. And I thought that it was young people acting in grown-up worlds, and I thought it would be really interesting to actually make them young but keep the dialogue the same.
Damn if you ain't the prettiest little filly I ever laid eyes on.
Why is someone like you working at Doggy Burger?
And let us go on the journey with them being younger, because I do think that it was that was 7 years ago now?
Yeah, it was 7 years ago, and I love it, but I still think if someone who's in their 50s has a better shot at determining whether or not they have had their best day ever than someone in their teens.
So this is where my whole thing is that not teens. Anderson is not teens.
Anderson is not teens, but Bethany
was... And she's 18.
But
she was 15, and we cast her as an 18-year-old.
Right.
You're a shredder?
What's in the bags?
We refuel every pickup.
And I colored her hair. I mean, I gave her all the stereotypical things of angst. And also the angel of death. I mean, there's a
Well,
lot
people
of
who've
foreshadowing.
seen Anderson Bench think that she's perhaps the angel of death.
I don't want to get Anderson in trouble. For a second there, I thought you were gonna.
There was a lot of foreshadowing with that. All of that was intentional on my part for the characters. I mean, that's one of the things that I feel like with casting and with characters with us is that that's kind of like my thing, because I did that for so long with hair and makeup and wardrobe and producing and stuff like that. Those are things that I love.
Right.
Is bringing life to the characters.
Nobody knows anything. Nobody will.
And I felt like at that point in time that you could see, it was too on the nose to see a 50-year-old spin out of control. And to me, it was real interesting to have a 20-year-old to be in this very dark, bleak place.
What can happen in a day?
And he ends up hedging he puts all his coins on this one little girl that could be the angel of death. We don't really know, because we kind of pick her up and we kind of drop her off. And she's, it kind of reminds me of the Highlander, or like,
Oh, yeah.
like it
Yep.
has those kind of vibes to it.
I love it. I love, I tried to write the most demeaning situations I could, having him work at Doggy Burgerland.
Yeah, I'm sorry, miss, but we don't serve lunch for another 3 hours. It's breakfast time now.
I want to speak to your manager.
Ears and the tail and the spats on his shoes.
Which is very much like working sometimes when you're working for the big boxes. There's sometimes when there's just things you have to do when you're working. And I think that was a great way that you didn't have to be on the nose, but it was like, oh, I get this guy. He's stuck.
He's
right?
stuck.
He's
Yeah, Anderson was
humiliated. He's stuck. It's kind of like saying that you might still live at home, and
Well, yeah, and his relationship with his wife was very much like his invalid mother, almost. Which I think some people thought maybe it was his invalid mother until they saw her. What did you think about that little turn when you read it?
Oh, I loved it because it was so unusual for me. And then I think casting Brandy was great. I don't think she really knew what she was getting into with us.
I gave it to her. I gave her the script at a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And I said, don't take offense, but I'd love you to be this this woman. And she read it and she said, I would love to be Gretchen.
I don't remember anymore.
I think that's her name. But she was wonderful. And she had to figure out how to there's a shot where Anderson has her on his back and he's walking through the living room. And then there's another one later where he has her in his arms and he's running outside to feed Emma. And she had to it's great because you can see her legs just kind of swaying because she had to be a paraplegic. And that was tough because she's very athletic and she had to figure out a way to do that. And when you watch the movie, it's wonderful because she just is
She sells it.
She sells
Don't
it
start
very, very
slacking,
well.
Anderson.
Not slacking, sweetness.
Easy, Anderson. You're trying to break me in half.
We shot the movie all right here,
Well, and we didn't.
except for Doggy Burgerland. That was in Springfield.
No, I know we did that, but was there anything else that we? Yeah, I guess so. We did shoot it all here.
Yep, little things down the road. This was Anderson's house. The white building was Allied
Human waste.
Allied
waste.
Reduction Services. Had to come up with a great word for it because I wanted to, kind of the Soylent Green
Yes,
notion.
absolutely.
I wanted people to think that they were taking people and they were turning them into something there. You juxtapose Emma, the KL 300, which can take up to 300 pounds a drop, and then kind of blood spattered industrial waste in another building, and let the audience kind of tell the story themselves.
If we do this, we're committed, okay?
No such thing as accidental shredding.
My big, strong man.
And I really enjoyed. I like what is not an Anderson Bench that makes you kind of creep out.
Well, and also I think what the cool thing is, I agree with that. The cool thing is that it's a dark comedy, and you actually can cry at the end, and people don't understand why they're crying, or
Right.
because it's so out there.
Yesterday I didn't
Didn't what?
Think I can never be happy.
But it just, I mean, I think that's what like attracted me to it, is that it was so unusual. And I think with the atypical type of casting, and then having Dane be in it. I mean, what a freaking
Dane is just so great. And he was on his way here, and I said, the night before, I said, hey, what do you think about doing this with a like a Cockney accent? What? I said, you do it with a Cockney accent.
Brava.
Okay. Dane talks like that. He said, okay, all right. So he comes in and he does the whole thing. So he did a great job.
All you have to do is feed it.
So Jordan comes in, and Jordan is amazing because he plays this kind of downtrodden loser that works at Doggy Burgerland.
You must have a goal.
To get through this day without screwing something up.
10 hours a day, and then has to come home and take care of his miserable, terrible, demeaning invalid wife. And there's one scene in it where Jordan takes his shirt off and throws it down on the floor, and then he's telling her basically, the hell with you, and then he comes back in and he puts the shirt back in.
Because he's so OCD.
Well, because she'd get upset with him too.
But he's also
But
that
when he
too.
does that, he is ripped to shreds. So Anderson Bench, this kind of geeky guy, there's only that one shot where he has his shirt off, and he looks like a male underwear model.
Or
or
an
something.
MMA fighter. I mean, he just looks like that svelte.
Which was that was an accident, but that was really cool because that didn't make sense either. I mean, that wasn't what you were expecting.
Right.
So it was great. I love Anderson Bench.
We shot it, though, on property. This was when we're getting to know each other, and we were kind of
Heck of a project to get to know each other.
finding each other, and I'm like re-entering back into the film world, and then we stumble on each other and didn't have two nickels to rub together, so it was me cutting hair and then us putting money into this, and it was crazy.
And getting people who just wanted to work because they read it and said, oh, this would be a lot of fun. I'd love to be that character.
Wanting experience.
And then we had to figure out how to make a 5,000 square foot building look like a 100,000 square foot building. This was my idea on it, but I don't know where I came up with it. We had plastic that we draped from bamboo, because we have a bamboo forest here. You can see that in 4 to go. But we put probably 20 feet of clear plastic on bamboo, and we shot through that, and then we cut little pieces of it and shot through that, and then we cut it into larger strips and shot through that, and we just moved to be different parts of this huge complex. We just moved the plastic around.
Right, and then also, the thing was and this is, it's been a while it's been a minute since we've done Anderson Bench, so us revisiting it. So it was a refrigeration building.
Yes.
And that's where that came from.
So it made sense to have that, which was so great when the car pulls in, the truck pulls in, and the stuff kind of sticks to it. Of course, there wasn't room for that truck to get through there, so I drove it in, and I think I tore both rear view mirrors off.
I think we had to
when
pay
did
for
it.
those.
Yeah, we had to pay for those
Yeah.
because we borrowed the truck.
And we shot it. We first we shot in the living room for our first day. It was just me and Luke and you.
Right.
On Mother's Day.
On Mother's Day.
That's how I know.
And I was smoking a cigar.
Oh.
You don't even know it's me in the movie. I'm smoking Allied Reduction Services. So I'm smoking a cigar, drinking whiskey, and it was about 7:30 in the morning. The combination of the whiskey and the cigar and
Actually,
no
you know
food
what?
made me like green sick.
It was actually Mom's birthday because we went and had pizza after, and it was Mom's birthday.
Oh,
so it
that's
was
right.
Beginning of May.
That's right. Mom's birthday was May 3rd.
So that's when we did it.
And because we had to have some time, because we're shooting right over there in this other room next to us, and I'm just pale and green and snot dripping, and
I'm doing camera myself.
She's doing camera, and this is just, it's
a lot of.
But it set the tone, which was great. So what I did, you went to do something, and I went and I had to just lay in the bathtub because I was sick as a dog. After I got better, probably the next day, I cut that little thing together because you can only see like one eye occasionally, and very close, very
avant-garde,
film noir,
right?
And so I showed that to Jordan and showed it to Maddie and showed it to Dane and said, look, I don't want this movie to get any less unusual than this. And it didn't.
Yep.
It's so cool. It's so cool. So folks, if you haven't seen Anderson Bench yet, check it out. I warn you, there is language. There's a lot of language.
Yep. This is pre-Stand On It days, guys. So
pre-Christmas cars.
Be warned.
Right, but if you want to, we do have a version that is censored on cineflixdod.com. You can get the one, and all we did is I ducked the sound out about 300 times when somebody said a bad word.
Which was a lot. Then.
Which was a lot.
He got that out of his system now.
I did.
That was one of our arguments too, initially. Remember that? That was one of my thing that I was having a huge challenge with when we first started dating. It was like,
yeah, you told me all these other people who didn't feel the need to do that and all that kind of stuff. But I remember The French Connection, and I remember movies where there was a lot of that. If you watch Gran Torino, my God, Eastwood. I don't think Eastwood's ever spoken like that. But it really is unnecessary. Except in Anderson, he was so frustrated. He couldn't say, everybody can have a good day. Everybody except Anderson Bench. And Anderson what? Freaking Bench, I guess? I don't know.
It worked.
I was angry. I wrote it because I was angry. I needed to vent, and I vented. And Anderson Bench came out. But it was better than me doing what Anderson did in real life.
Right. Absolutely.
Or we wouldn't be here. You'd be visiting me.
Right. Or we wouldn't have never met.
Probably not. Anderson Bench, JohnSchneiderStudios.com. You can get yourself a DVD, or you can go to cineflixdod.com and look up Anderson Bench. It's unusual. It's unusual. But it will make you, I think it'll make you cry.
It's also bitterly sweet.
Anderson Bench.
Perfect song. Perfect song. All right. Bye.
See ya.
Say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.